Отдаю все без остатка. Отдаю все без остатка. Отдаю все без остатка. Моему Папе. Отдаю все без остатка. Отдаю все без остатка. Отдаю все без остатка. Моему Папе. Папа, я весь твой. Папа, больше. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Твоей глубины я жажду больше. Я жажду больше. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я жажду больше. Я жажду больше. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я жажду больше. Я жажду больше. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я жажду больше. Я жажду больше. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я хочу раствориться в Тебе. Я хочу Твоей глубины. Я жажду больше. Я жажду больше. Я хочу Твоей Господь, спасибо за Твое присутствие.
Lord, thank you for your presence
Такое сладкое,
that is so sweet,
которое Ты даешь просто так.
and you give us it
Ничего
for
не
free.
заслужили.
We didn't deserve
Видеть
it
перед Твое лицо и иметь это глубокое единение с
to
Тобой.
come before your face and have this deep
Господь, мы
relationship
ничего
with
этого не
you.
заслужили.
Lord, we didn't deserve any of that, but you
Только
blessed us.
благодаря Твоей жертве, Иисус.
Only thanks to your sacrifice,
Потому
Jesus,
что Ты захотел этого единения прежде.
because you wanted this unity,
Потому что Ты открыл нам доступ во святое святых.
because you gave us
Господь, мы
the access
недостойны.
to the Holy of Holy.
Но как
And
сладко
Lord,
сегодня вкушать Тебя.
we are ready
Сладко
to
сегодня
taste
просто
from
быть
you.
в
So
Твоей славе,
sweet,
в Твоем присутствии.
just to be in your glory and in
Боже,
your
спасибо.
presence. Lord, thank
Спасибо
you.
за эту сладость,
Thank you for the sweetness of your presence.
за эту сладость поклонения.
Thank you for the sweetness that we have.
Боже, мы просто хотим сказать Тебе спасибо.
God, we just want to tell you thank you.
Спасибо за то, что можем переживать это.
Thank you that we
Что
can
можем приходить
experience
в Твое
you,
присутствие.
that we can walk in your
Ты
presence.
наполняешь. Господь, спасибо.
Lord, thank you.
Так много людей не знают, так много
So many
просто
people
не могут
don't
это
know you.
переживать.
So many people cannot
Нам Ты даешь всё
experience it.
направление.
And you give us
Нам Ты даешь все необходимое. Ты оживляешь нас.
everything
Ты обновляешь
what's
наши
necessary.
силы.
You fill up
Ты восстанавливаешь,
You
поднимаешь.
restore our strength.
Ты
You
прикасаешься
renew
к нам.
us, lift us up, and you touch us.
Спасибо за все, что мы имеем в Твоем присутствии.
Lord, thank you for everything we have in your presence.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Ты посещаешь нас,
You visit us
потому что Ты верный своему слову.
because you're faithful to your word.
И может Тебе не всегда хочется, но Ты приходишь.
And maybe not always you
Ты
want to
приходишь,
come,
потому
but
что
you
Ты сказал,
come.
где двое или
You
трое.
come because you said, where two or three will gather in my name, I will be among
Господь,
them.
спасибо, что Ты здесь.
Lord, thank you that you're here.
Спасибо, что мы можем вкушать эту сладость.
Thank you that we can taste the sweetness of your presence, of your touch.
Как это прекрасно. Мы так благодарны.
We're so grateful. We're so
Прости, когда
grateful.
мы иногда этого не ценим, Господь.
Forgive us when we don't
Прости,
value
если
that,
кто-то из
Lord.
нас сегодня не вошел.
Forgive us when we don't go somewhere following you, when you give it to us for free. Thank you.
This generation,
Вот
all
это-
all the people born from 2010 until now,
И вот это поколение, все те дети, которые родились с 2010 года,
is called Generation Z.
их называют поколение Z.
I didn't give this name to
Это не
this
я дал им такое
generation.
название, это не я назвал это поколение.
It sounds pretty strange because it means that probably will be the last generation.
Звучит немножко странно, потому что буква Z, как последняя буква в алфавите, звучит как будто это последнее поколение родившихся.
So I start to understand that probably this is the moment
И я начал понимать и подумал, может быть, это тот самый момент,
when our heart will turn forever to their heart,
когда наше сердце навечно обратится к их сердцам,
and their heart will turn forever to our heart,
и их сердце навеки, навсегда обратится к нашему сердцу.
without any stumble stone,
И не будет никаких камней преткновения больше.
without any misunderstanding.
И уже больше не будет никаких недопониманий.
So I felt that probably we need to call all the babies
И я подумал, может быть, мы можем позвать всех
and
детей
do this prophetic act.
и сделать этот пророческий акт.
I want to say, if we do this prophetic act, I don't believe that doing this and then it will happen.
И я не хочу сказать, и хочу, чтобы вы понимали, я не верю в то, что если мы сейчас сделаем пророческий акт, тогда что-то произойдет.
It's already happened.
Оно уже произошло, это
This
уже есть.
just need to let us understand what it means.
Просто пусть этот акт позволит нам понять, что это значит.
So I want to call all the babies born from 2010
Я хочу пригласить
until
всех
now.
детей, всех младенцев, кто их держит, тех, кто родились после 2010 года, или с 2010 и
And
дальше.
call the leadership,
И
the
всех
pastor,
лидеров и пастырей пригласить.
father and mothers of this baby.
И
that
папа и
come.
мама этих деток, если вы тут, подойдите тоже вперед.
Please,
Пожалуйста,
sit.
хочешь присесть? You want them to- Можно присесть на пол,
What God
как
is saying
угодно.
me about my son
Что мне Бог говорит о моем сыне?
is don't treat them just like kids.
Не относись к ним, к детям, просто как к детям.
Because of course their body and their soul are kids.
Потому что, конечно, это наши дети, у них есть тело и
And you
душа.
need to discipline them.
И, конечно, их нужно
But
воспитывать.
their spirit
Но есть у них дух,
is old.
и он древний дух.
Is old like our spirit.
Такой же древний, как и наш.
And like Bible says, the spirit is ready, so their spirit is ready.
И Писание говорит, что дух готов, и их дух точно так же готов.
Father, we thank you
Отец, мы благодарим Тебя
for this generation.
за это поколение.
Father, we thank you
Мы
for
благодарим
all
Тебя.
the stumble stones that you put on our way.
Мы благодарим Тебя и за все те камни преткновения, которые Ты вставил
Because all of the misunderstanding
на этом пути, и за все недопонимания, которые были.
can let us know the real understanding.
Но все эти недопонимания привели нас к пониманию, которое есть сейчас.
Thank you because you choose us.
Спасибо за то, что Ты избрал нас.
Thank you because you choose them
И спасибо за то, что Ты избрал их,
to reveal the final purpose,
чтобы открыть
the
истинную
resurrection.
цель,
The
истинное
resurrection.
предназначение, и это воскресение.
Thank before we are seeing them.
Спасибо за то, что мы можем видеть их.
Probably the last generation.
Может быть, это последнее поколение.
And we declare that we will be not a stumble stone for them.
И мы провозглашаем, что мы не будем камнем преткновения для них.
That our heart
Что-
will be always turned to their
Что наше
one.
сердце всегда будет открыто к ним, повернуто к ним.
In Jesus' name,
Во имя Иисуса.
amen.
Амин.
Yesterday, really interesting things were happening during the service. A lot of us were spontaneously feeling the support from some kids, as if children's concentration and feeling was really strong at the service yesterday. I paid attention to that at the leaders' hangout when we had core here a little bit, but yesterday I experienced it really strongly. And I saw some children yesterday who were during the service concentrated at what was happening, and they could not understand the essence of it, but their spirit was participating in the service completely. They were doing their part. And I know that very often we've been doing that, but I want to say that we should put it as a foundation, as a truth, that the spirit of kids who maybe still don't walk, don't speak, who just started to talk or walk, who just started to realize some things. Some of those who are present here, they just were born, they were just few months old. And by God, the Spirit is put into them, the same Spirit as it is put inside of us. And they don't acquire it like that their spirit gets more and more, but it grows inside of them. It is the same way right now as the Spirit will be in them when they grow up. Just when they grow up, they start to realize a lot of spiritual things. They become, maybe if I can call it, educated in spiritual things. They can give some names to some things, call it somehow. And I want to say that our responsibility that I saw long ago already, that you as parents, you do that really successfully. Our job is to help them not to become somebody, not to find some place, take some place, sometimes just because we didn't do something, but our task is to help them mature from inside and help them to find this spirit that is already inside of them. When they grow up, when they ask more questions, when they have more and more of things they will ask you, where they have some doubts, I believe that because we are just friends to them, we will help them to cope with everything that happens inside of them. If some time ago they were telling us that in 2 years we did some stuff in spiritual world more than older people took 10 years to do that, I cannot say how fast they will mature, but I know that we can say that in a month or in a moment you start to realize some stuff that it took me so long. A lot of you shared with me that your kids react to spiritual things, good and bad, and they start to feel something and they don't like something, for example. Something starts to happen inside, or they like it and they enjoy it. That's why when Umberto said, and yesterday we talked about it a little bit with Mark, I believe it's a special prophetic act. And your kids, our kids, I don't separate them. Like everybody whose kids are here, I treat them as my kids. I'm glad they will be my friends. And this is the biggest reward for me I can receive from them. It's interesting. On one hand, I love what I will say right now when it happens, but on the other hand, it brings some confusion, and you have to trust God deeper than mainly. When you get ready for the service, when you say that God reveals some stuff to you, He reveals it in your spirit, and you say, we've been praying, we've been prepared, and some things were happening, and we say, we would like to share about this, open it up, release some stuff, like God revealed that and this to us. And we did have some particular things that God told us to share, and we were getting ready, it's honestly. But you know those things that were happening yesterday to us? When we realized a little bit more the truth, yesterday I felt in a real way that the word was fulfilled. Get to know the truth and it will make you free. Literally, when you realize the truth, it comes to our lives sometimes like a sword, double-edged, and it separates, it cuts off and separates some negative stuff. Or as it seemed to us, normal things, why did you need to touch it? But it separates it, and at first, our soul resist those things, but what happens afterwards was worth it. And when you understand that you became so free inside, you become just so free, you realize that You don't want to take care of some things anymore. You just know that you need to be with God, that you need to realize that He's here, that you need to go deeper into Him. It makes you free. It takes off this responsibility from you that you can do something on your own to solve something or to get deeper somewhere. Everything you need is this constant desire to go deeper and deeper. And we wanted to talk today. I don't know how to find this word, so Sergey would not make fun of me. I call it the calling, but I will explain what I mean. Purpose or calling or your life aim, role. Somebody calls it that's the thing you were created for. And it's interesting, I saw in the Bible the answer to all of these questions. I know that I will start with one thing. A lot of us, including me, constantly ask ourselves a question, and I like it. I'm really happy that I have some confidence inside and I can easily answer my question. What were you created for? Why do you exist? Why are you here at all? Yesterday, at the moment of the deepest thoughts, and at the moment when you dive deep into those questions about the future, where to go to next, where is this depth? Like yesterday I mentioned, that you ask yourself a question, maybe I just start to realize the essence of relationship with the Father. And when you start to ask yourself questions like that, they're the same question as about the calling. The questions that are actual questions. It's not just some question you need to solve. There are just few moments, you need to wait, the money will come, we'll solve it, or if it was this way, it would be solved. And here, it is the question that doesn't make you indifferent. Why are you sitting here? Not just like here, why are you existing? The question is, what for? Why? And sometimes they don't sound identically like I mentioned. Do you know what your calling is? Or answer the question, is that your purpose in your life? They don't sound like this. They sound in your inner condition of a search and unsatisfaction of our spirit, because if God gave it to us inside, He knows it. He lives inside of us. He knows, as it's written in the scripture, when Paul says to Romans, this spirit inside of us testifies that we are the children of God. And it tortures inside. It's difficult for him because he understands there is something more, there is something deeper, somewhere where you can keep on going to. It's not the limit for him, but it's like a box for him that it's difficult for him to move just because he realizes there is more. Because he sits in a cage and he understands there is dad and he's not led to be with his dad. He can hear his voice, he can know him, he can know that dad is there, but he cannot unify with him, run out and see him. And in the Bible, I found the explanation, and I want us to read it if you have your Bibles with you. I will say where it's written. I will read several verses. That's the 2 Corinthians 5. I know that majority of you have standard Russian translation. I don't know what, but I have modern translation right now. I'm reading, it has the same as the old. We know that if the earthly tent, which is our house, is torn down, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. For indeed in this house we groan, longing to be clothed with our dwelling from heaven. Inasmuch as we, having put it on, will not be found naked. For indeed, while we are in this tent, we groan, being burdened, because we do not want to be unclothed, but to be clothed, so that what is mortal will be swallowed up by life. Now, He who prepared us for this very purpose is God, who gave to us the Spirit as a pledge. I want to read it once again, 2 Corinthians 5. I will take verses 4 and 5 now again. For indeed, while we are in this tent, we groan, being burdened, because we do not want to be unclothed, but to be clothed, so that what is mortal will be swallowed up by life. Now, He who prepared us for this very purpose is God, who gave to us the Spirit as a pledge. I don't know. I was reading it, and I even made a lot of notes there, like enough of notes, and there was a remark and so on. I read it. I don't know, maybe I skipped it before, maybe I missed it somehow, and maybe I thought that I understood everything, but I received an answer to my question: what is the purpose and what I was made for? As I understand, I was created to abide in the house, to be in the unity with the Father. I can say 1,000 synonyms of this word: to enjoy, to be satisfied in His presence, to be fed by Him, to have everything He has, to be created in image and likeness of God in the house of God. I want to read it again. Because we want to be close into the heavenly tent, so the mortal would be swallowed up by life. For this is the purpose God created us for, who gave us His Spirit as a loan. It means that He will come for it, He will fulfill it as physically, knowing the nature of God, that He's not a liar. If He said this word would be fulfilled, if He gave inside of us as a loan His Spirit that testifies to us that we have the house we can stay in. And I asked my wife, when Jesus said that He's leaving, in order to prepare rooms for us, He says, in the house of my Father there is a lot of dwelling, and I will go prepare it to you, and we will go together with you there, and we'll live there. We will enjoy our lives there, and we can say a lot of synonyms what we will do there. We will be there with God. We'll have our room inside of His heart in heaven, not just next to Him, but inside of Him. It's written that when the time comes, we will see Him the way He is, and fullness of His nature will be opened to us, and we will become like Him. It's written like that in one of the letters of John. And I thought that, thinking about the calling and purpose, we cannot say here, and I will not be saying it here, and no one will say it here, that our purpose can be found when we search something that we like. I will tell you, this is true, but it's not the first thing. We cannot think what we like, we would like to do that or this. I'm good at this, probably it's my calling. I'm good at that, probably I'm called to that. God me created for this. Why did God create you for that? Because I'm the best in this. And to some extent, in this moment, there are some characteristics of, actually, if you're the best in this, if you're so good at it, I always analyzed it. I see the person is on his place. It's his place. He's called for it. He works perfectly in this. He's perfect administrator. He can administrate everything so quickly. It takes you 1 week, but they do it in 5 minutes. I saw people like that. You can see that person is called. He's a great teacher. When he talks and speaks, it's not like me, but he puts everything into order. He prepares everything. He laid the table really nicely. And you, word by word, you receive this word and you think, wow, where does it come from? You cannot learn it from anybody. You need to have a gift for that. Somebody prophesies. He sees everything. God reveals it to him. He does miraculous things, but the question is still open. The main thing, as it's written, here is why God created us for. So we would be in His house, so we would get to know His fullness, so we would get to know the fullness, and so we would open up ourselves. And when I read about the dwelling, about Jesus who went to prepare a room for us, I had a simple question. What is happening right now on the earth? I have this loan, this promise that He will come back, He will take me, and I will have a place. He prepared it for me. And He tells a lot of things about the faith in Him. Really strongly, He unifies Himself with the Father. Not just really strongly, but He says, we're inseparable. And the disciples were confused, and He talks to them and says, why don't you understand? You saw in me. It means you saw the Father. You believed in me, and you believed in the Father. And before that, He says, if you love God, love me as well. He doesn't separate Himself from the Father. And then He says He goes to the rooms, He will prepare them for us. There is a great house, there is a dwelling not built by man. And I understand there is a foundation we could build, and we can stand on thinking on further and teaching and getting revelations about our purpose and calling here. And this foundation that we were created to have a dwelling, so we would know whose children we are, so we would have this strong foundation inside that we're not orphans, that there is someone we belong to, not a person, but God. And I want us further to talk, maybe not already right now, but we will keep on talking about this, about the purpose. There are people who have this strong confidence in who they are. You have this strong confidence in what you do. I don't know how strong maybe it is, but you have this confidence and it's enough for you. And I want to say, everything we will be saying here or everything you hear, receive it from the perspective of how to get stronger in this realization that you are His children, He's your dad, and you have a house. And there are people who still don't have it inside. You came up yesterday and you said that you have doubt. You understand everything, but you still have a question. Do I actually know God? I want to tell you, listen to what we will share from the perspective that you just relax and receive everything we say. Everything I say is written in the Holy Scripture. And God, through His Word, He releases the message that I am your dad. You have a place. You have a room. You belong to me. I belong to you. And this is the foundation. Only in this way, only when we have this foundation, when we're confident, when we completely kicked out the orphan out of our heart, when the orphan stops being orphan, we understand we are not just adopted, because, some people get adopted and they still feel like an orphan. There is a son who is a biological son, and very often it happens in families. And sooner or later it happens that children, when they grow up, they still have the spirit of orphans manifested because they start to feel something, some self-rejection. They realize it's not their family. Those were just the parents who helped them, who raised them. But it doesn't work like this with God, because He is our beginning. He is our parent. He gave us life. He gave us this spirit as a loan inside of us that constantly cries out and is not as satisfied all the time. Not because he doesn't like something, but because he constantly wants to go deeper. Only when we realize that we can talk about next things. How do you, with the realization of who you are, with everything, how can we release it further? And how does it work? It's an interesting moment that today we touched this moment about maturity. When these kids, when they're small, when they come up here, they don't ask a question what they're created for. Let's take physical thing. They don't ask this question. They just live, they enjoy, they get confirmed every day that mom and dad loves them, that parents take care of them, they raise them, they give them everything necessary for life. Then the teenage years come. Then that's when the math happens. The child is not child anymore. He starts to feel really grown up. He has this boldness to prove something, to scream, to confirm, and to tell parents that they have nothing to do and they are wrong. And this is what I call the breaking moment. Because you have a choice to stay a child or actually to choose the way of maturity and to realize that you're not a child anymore. Not a baby anymore. Who believes here that you went through these teenage years and you became mature? Do you remember these moments when there was this warfare and you physically had to even to fight? And the moment happened when you understand, I don't have to scream and have foam coming out of my mouth. I don't have to prove something. I just need to show in my actions that I grew up. I need to take responsibility. I just realized that I want to be responsible for this and that. And then the parents don't say anything to you. You yourself take responsibility for your life. Moreover, do even more. It happens that you take responsibility for your parents to come to the moment that God made for them when you take care of them. And at this moment, the most interesting thing happens. That's when everything is changed and son becomes like a parent, or son and daughter become like parents for their physical parents. It's weird, but I think this is the climax of maturity. You already realize not just the feeling of guilt, but you realize I take responsibility for my parents. I want it. I love them. And you don't treat them, you don't indifferently neglecting them, but you honor them and you actually take care of them. You supply them in everything. And I want to say the last moment, if some of the leaders want to continue, come up, because I want to say the last thing, the third thing, that is, at the moment when you're defining will you be a grown-up or a baby, there is the moment that people grow up, some circumstances come, different things come, they grow up, and they still continue to be babies inside. The way they think, their feelings, their emotions, conquer them. They do grow, the years pass, but they still stay babies inside. As if physically they tried to choose something and they started to prove everybody we're growing up or adults, but actually they still treat themselves and behave like kids. And I think the moment of maturity came, and the moment of realizing the first thing and choosing the second thing. I realize who I am, and then I choose, and I look where can who I am be manifested, where can it be ministered. I don't want us just to think about those two things, but about the foundation. If you don't know about who you are today, if you're not confident and assured that you're a son and a daughter for 100%. Yes, it's difficult, but it's actually real. Don't look for second part. Don't run to capture the second part. No matter what somebody tells you, you don't have to do that. You can do some work, yes, but please hold on and get stronger in realizing who you are, that you're a son and daughter, and then everything you take, whatever your hand touches, you will be the best in it. And people from a side, parents, pastors, everybody who are the evaluating person for you right now, people will see you and they will see that you are doing everything as a mature, not like as a mature, but mature. You took responsibility. Nobody will hinder you. You will not feel control. This is the fight against control. Grow up, realize, get stronger. Have your own voice and your revelation in your life, who you are, and then no one will be able to push you away from here. I wanted to share an example. I already forgot it, but Yana reminded it to me. That's an example about my life. The Father's love helped me to find myself and become who I am, and how it was manifested in my family. I was born in the family of pastors, and I had the moments in my life. Of course, I was growing up from childhood, I was taken to the church, but there was a moment when I had to choose for myself, do I want it, or is it just because my parents go there? And of course, praise God, the Lord helped me. First of all, as we said, He chose us. So it all started, and I started to have relationship with Him, and still I had bad relationship with my parents. I didn't understand my dad. My mom and I were screaming at one another up to tears, and we had conflicts. But at one moment, when God started to reveal Himself to me as Dad, I started to enter this maturity to some extent, and I realized that in spite of the fact that I have Dad, and He's really good Dad, He does everything to me. I think He's one of those perfect dads that not everyone had dad like that, but still, I still had this feeling inside of orphanage, that I lack something, that I want to have some relationship with a father. And when I realized that I needed dad, I started to practice this relationship, to learn, to walk in this relationship. But then at one moment I realized that my parents also need the father as I need my dad. And they also had parents who probably wounded them somehow. And in my heart inside, I just started to treat them in a different way, as if to treat them not like my kids, but like father's kids. And I treated my mom and dad with a father's heart. I didn't tell them that I made a decision to treat them like that, that I have this revelation. But they just started to notice not the things even that I do or what I say, but they noticed whom I became. And in the relationship, they started to get healed. They started to trust me so much and to open up. And we basically became friends. And when they saw that, they as if took me to their own level, let's say. And then after some time, I shared with them this revelation. And you know, sometimes it sounds so weird to become dad for your mom or dad. It doesn't mean that you become higher or something, like, okay, now I'm commanding here. It's impossible, because dad is dad and mom is mom as well, and you have to be obedient to your parents. But I believe that this love of the Father, is the key to this maturity, key to this period of time when you don't think about yourself only anymore, that everything is all around you only. But as always, I wanted to say a little bit more, but that's it for now. Because as soon as I grab mic, all my thoughts leave me. There is something that I wanted to say and continue and to say separately. Forgive me if it sounds as if it's not connected. It is, but try to understand me. There are some things that I wrote down that I felt that I wanted to share. The first thing that I wanted to say is there are some global truths, kind of. The first one is that what happens right now, if you can call it, it is the change of big seasons. Do you remember that in Israel there were Jubilee years and short seasons, like 7 years? Those were like short seasons. And there was a Jubilee year. It was like 50 years after some season. And in this year, the life of Israel got changed radically. For example, if people were deprived of their land or they got rid of everything, in this Jubilee year, the land was supposed to be returned to them and they could start all over. Or if people were slaves or kind of because of their debts and started to work out on their debts, in this Jubilee year, they were released to be free and they could start from scratch. So it was not just happening like that. It was not just like instantly. It was the whole year that Israel was doing and renewing all the processes all over the nation, all over the country. And a lot of people were waiting for this year, and it didn't depend on people. It was supposed to happen just because of God's law. And right now, what I felt, and a lot of us felt, we talked a lot, right now is one of those seasons, the global seasons in the whole world, if we can call it the global Jubilee year. Maybe it's not even a year, but this period of a change of seasons, not that change that happens once per 50 years, but much more even. I will not say that it's a season of 100 years or more, but it's a big change of seasons, and in order to change from one season to another, it's not enough to have 1 year to change. It's hard to predict, but it's been 1 year already how it started, maybe a little bit earlier, and it will continue, the season will continue. What I mean that a lot of things that we have been doing before, they will seem maybe irrelevant, or why do we do that all the time? Maybe we need something new, and it's normal, it's okay, because new things should come, but this new is not known to us. We haven't tried it yet, we haven't touched it yet, we just feel it's supposed to come. And we want to grab it already right now. I wanted to take it and bring it in my life, in life of everybody, in Koinonia, in the world, and live in it. But it's impossible just to do it by click. And I even tried to explain it for myself, how I feel it, how to formulate what I feel, and I have a great example to that now. When my wife got pregnant, I got to know that I would have a son. I would have a child, then I got to know it would be a son. And it was such an unusual feeling that you know that you will not just have son, you already have a child. It is actually a person that you can talk to right now. You feel something towards this person. Somehow he reacts some way, but he's not standing in front of you as a man. You cannot touch him. You cannot, like, normally talk to him like a child, like right now, because he was born. But first month, you don't even see that your wife has a belly. You know she's pregnant, but the first 6 months, like nothing happened, nothing changed. But it changed at the same time. And sometime after that, the belly starts to grow bigger, and you believe more that this is a person growing inside. And then, when he is born earlier, then sometimes you cannot make it happen. You have to wait until the natural time for him to be born so you can be with him. Everything you can do while it's happening is to get ready for his coming. Though you know he is coming soon, but everything you can do at this moment is to get ready. You cannot bring him earlier. The same way with the season that I feel, and I understand it's not only me. We all feel that there is something new happening. We know that it is radically different from what has happened before. It's radically different. It's not in the form how it's gonna happen or services. It's in everything. We don't know how it will happen. I don't know how my son will look like until I see him. He's still growing. He will still be changing. That's why I say it's a great example how it will happen. But already now, we can get ready to this new season, prepare ourselves from inside. That's why you don't have to look for something new, I will say, around you, because it will come in a natural way. He said it, he will do it, he will bring everything we need. And we just need to be ready. That's my answer to everything I feel and experience. I came to share it. That's the first part that I wanted to share. Also, one more part that I wanted to share was a small revelation about what Vadim was sharing. That our spirit is crying out for this heavenly dwelling, and it's groaning because it is in earthly things, and all this process is happening. And one of the experiences we will need to overcome in this new season to go through is to overcome fear before depth. Why? Because I know in myself, the deeper I go in the spirit, the further I go, the stronger this groaning is and the painful it is. And it's scary to keep on walking into this deep depths of God, because you know so much that every next step of yours will tear you apart from inside physically and in your soul. It may be so unpleasant that you want to come back to the shallow water and just play there because it's easy, you can breathe air there. But when you are deep, you cannot breathe with natural air. But once again, it's a comparison, but this is what happens in spiritual. The deeper you go, the bigger lack you have of breathing. Yeah, your spirit feels better, but your body and soul feels worse. So the same groaning, the closer we get to Him, the harder it is for us, kind of. We need to be ready to overcome ourselves to go deeper. That's one of the things that we will need to learn to walk in this new season, and that we will need to help our children and our friends also to learn to walk in it. Every time when I encountered some level that I need to keep on going, I was so afraid of this depth that I found the way to run away from there. And I understand that we have this time right now to prepare ourselves to walk deeper. Is it convenient for us to do that? It was always convenient for me to do that at Koinonias, at events like that, because you still feel protected next to people who are close to you, next to your family. To go deeper, it's easier. But actually, this is only a small part where you can walk somewhere together. Both times, it's also important when you walk with God one-on-one or with family and God. But it should be balanced. I want to tell you, if you walk with God with everybody else, you walk with your family, it's easy. But then you walk one-on-one with Him, it may be difficult if you didn't practice it before, and you might have some problems. That's one of the moments I wanted to share. We'll have lunch, so I will manage to say a few things before that. I also wanted to say a short thing about young generation that we were praying for, what Umberto said for us to do, what he felt, and what I feel recently. I feel a lot about young generation. That's the younger they are, the more I feel about them. It doesn't mean that those who are older, it's done with you. I'm 31 years old, and I still didn't give my place to anybody yet. But the younger kids I encounter, the more I see what they will have to do in this earth, what God called them for. It doesn't mean that He didn't call the older, younger people, but everybody has his own place. I want to say that to those who are 12, 13, 15, 16 years old, the responsibility for the smaller kids to keep on going, it's both on you guys, teenagers, and on us. It's responsibility for us to take you walk with us further, who are younger than us. And our responsibility, us, meaning those who are older, it's our responsibility before God. I can say it. We will give an account before God for that when we come. In order for those who follow us, the generations that follow us, to go further than we go, that's our responsibility. It's not even a responsibility, it's a challenge of God for every one of us. I'm not trying to release some stuff right now. I'm trying to kind of take a hammer in my hand and put some sticks in some corners. So don't pay attention if you don't feel anything, just try to hear me. And I'm talking right now to young people. Your voice is important for us. Not only of those who are here, but everybody whom I know, your voice is important for me. It doesn't mean that you have to grab microphone, though for somebody it does mean that. But your spiritual voice, the voice of your spirit is really important for me. It's really important for me. And I'm waiting for this voice of the spirit of every guy, every girl, and the younger he is, the more I want to hear it in my spirit. That's why I'm calling you not to be afraid and not to hide. How will it happen for any of you, every one of you? It's not up to me. But it doesn't mean that you take to take mic every time, though for somebody it is. But I'm asking you not to be afraid. And I'm not saying that it's supposed to happen at this Koinonia. It should happen in your life every day. And one more moment, the last moment, and I will put a period on this. I want to say about Koinonia as we're used to seeing it, because the new season comes, be ready that everything will be changing. I don't, as I said, I know that everything will be changing. I don't know how it will look like. I cannot formulate it in words, like I couldn't describe my son. I knew that he will be born, though I didn't know whether he will look like me or my wife. The same way with this season. Where we enter, everything will be in a different way there. We need to prepare ourselves to be ready for these other things. How will it happen? It's not up to us. God has everything prepared and He knows everything. So let's go and it will happen.